Oh, hello there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Gather and Chat. This was a little series that I started on my YouTube channel a while ago when I relaunched my channel, which was basically just me cutting up ephemera and having a little chat, just talking to you guys about stuff. Usually various creative topics was what I had in mind. Last episode, I pretty much just talked about kind of more so my ephemera process, since it was kind of like the kickoff video of Gather and Chat and kind of the whole purpose of it. So I think here in episode 2, we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of what's going on, or really just start to dive into those kind of creative topics. So when it came time for me to come up with what the creative topic was going to be for this episode, I decided to just keep it current and talk about what's going on right now for me as a creative person and as an artist. Because I realized, although this will probably be a difficult subject for me to talk about because it's been rather frustrating, it made me realize that maybe some of you guys are going through this too, or you've dealt with it in the past, or this just might be kind of an interesting thing to talk about. And the main thing here, and by the way, speaking about the ephemera, I have a massive pile of Hollywood Reporters. So needless to say, the next few Gather and Chat episodes, probably 10 episodes worth, are all going to be Hollywood Reporter magazines. I get this magazine weekly, and I have not been spending much time in my studio, so I have a massive stockpile of these. So just letting you know, that's what I'm cutting up here. Lots of Hollywood Reporters. Anywho, back to the topic. Although this is probably going to be a rather difficult subject for me to talk about, and it's because it's been really frustrating, I kind of want to talk about what happens when you have to step away from making art, or when you're in a bit of a creative drought. And that has been the case for me for probably 4 months. And a big reason of that is because I got pregnant, which most of you guys already know. And with this pregnancy has come an array of challenges, mainly just the physical symptoms and not feeling well, and in general just not having a very positive pregnancy experience. But I will save that for another video. But it has really, really impacted me creatively. And it's difficult to feel motivated to make art when you aren't physically feeling well. I mean, nothing is worse. Nothing is more frustrating. You know, when you aren't physically feeling well, you already are kind of in a rough mental place. You're not necessarily as motivated to do the things that interest you all the time. And what's been a particular struggle for me is that usually art is like my safe place. When I am having a hard time mentally, physically, or I'm having a rough day or whatever it is, I find myself, falling into art as that being kind of my safe space and where I can work and just kind of hole up and create. And that has not been the case for me. And it's been really, really frustrating because over the past 4 months, not only have I had really zero desire to make art, and I always jokingly tell James that I think this baby has sucked all the creativity out of me, but the few times that I have actually tried to sit down and make art, I end up just feeling like a total disaster. Like, I feel very rusty. I feel like the things that I'm creating are very amateur. Like, I've lost my spark, my fire, the thing that makes me unique as an artist. And it's hard not to have a meltdown when you're feeling like that. And it kind of makes me think back to when I had a previous creative drought, and I made a zine about this called 2 Weeks in May. You guys probably already know about this. If you remember, I made a video tour of it, so it is up here on the channel if you wanted to watch that. But I think back to that moment when I was also feeling just as frustrated, and I think maybe even at that time I felt even worse because I think I thought that maybe my career as an artist was legitimately over. And even though that was only 2 weeks long, and this is a much longer period of time, I just keep trying to tell myself during these sort of little mini pep talks that this too shall pass. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to cover this topic for this episode of the Gather and Chat, is that you might be experiencing it too. And I want to just say that to you as well. And even this might even be for a bit of myself too, but this too shall pass. I've decided during this, moment and these many months of not making art that for me to get back into it, I have to take the pressure off myself. I can't just assume that I'm going to be able to just jump back into making art, the amount of art, the quality of art that I was making like I was before. So right now for me, it's about taking baby steps. So maybe it's sitting down and just cutting ephemera. This was actually really relaxing for me because not only was the magazine pile just overflowing, but it was something just kind of mindless where I was able to just look at something with colors and patterns and just kind of relax and cut things out. And that was a nice task to do. Something else I've been doing is just in my sketchbook, kind of defaulting back to motifs and drawings and doodles that I tend to like to do. So even if it's something as simple as just drawing floral shapes or repetitive patterns, just keeping it really, really simple. I think just getting ink to paper and paint to page is kind of the most important thing for me right now. It's not really about a finished product of some sort. It's really just kind of settling back into a process and having materials in your hand. You know, it's so easy to forget that art at the end of the day is a technical skill, and just holding a pencil and pushing materials around is its own process, its own sort of feeling. So I'm really trying to just embrace those baby steps as I ease myself back into it. And I think another big component for me is the physical space that I'm working in. And lately my studio has just been an absolute mess. And a big part of it is just we've been rearranging things around in our apartment, and I've been just kind of piling things up. And in my, really upsetting attempts at trying to sit down and make art, it just kind of ends up in a mess. So I have these sort of piles all over the place. And I think even doing a bit of cleaning and tidying up and making sure that I'm in a positive and inspiring space is really important too. So although it's difficult for me to kind of clean up my studio at the moment because we might be moving, the prospects of setting up a new workspace and being in a new place is exciting to me. And I'm hoping that maybe that, adds a little bit more inspirational fire to things and gets me kind of motivated to get back into making art more seriously again. So if you're in a creative rut too, don't worry. We've all been there. I'm living in one right now, but this too shall pass, and just take those baby steps you need to get out of it.